So the judge for the Idaho College murders case is laying the groundwork with these critical decisions ahead of the high-profile murder trial this summer. This morning, the judge in the Idaho College murders case largely siding with prosecutors in several key rulings for Brian KOHBERGER'S August trial. Regarding KOHBERGER'S autism spectrum disorder, DNA evidence, witness testimony, and suspect's car, Judge Stephen Hippler severely restricting what KOHBERGER'S defense team can say about his autism spectrum disorder unless KOHBERGER takes a stand on his own behalf in order to explain his behavior. The judge clearing the way for an Idaho State Police lab manager to testify on specifics of KOHBERGER'S DNA, which prosecutors say was found at the crime scene on a knife sheath similar to this.
What does a knife sheath at a scene mean? That's going to be the ultimate question.
The defense has argued that KOHBERGER'S DNA could have gone on the sheath by other means than murder. Prosecutors claim KOHBERGER bought the knife and sheath on Amazon 8 months before Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were fatally stabbed in an off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho in 2022.
Do you think that the surviving roommates were under the stress of the immediate events?
As for one of those surviving roommates, the judge ruling her account of seeing a masked intruder with bushy eyebrows can be used at trial. The defense claimed it would bias the jury, but the judge called her descriptions remarkably consistent. And the judge will allow a state expert to testify that this white Hyundai Elantra spotted on security cameras at and around the crime scene is the same make and model that KOHBERGER drove. Now the trial is set for August. KOHBERGER is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf by a judge.
So, again, we talk about it all the time on this show. Circumstantial evidence. And don't ever let anyone tell you that circumstantial evidence is not very powerful evidence. Because here we have the knife sheath. And of course, to me, that is one of, or the cornerstone of this case. The knife sheath found next to Madison Mogan's body with DNA that comes back to Brian KOHBERGER on the button of that knife sheath. So that in itself is extremely strong evidence. But then when you find out that Brian KOHBERGER ordered this knife sheath on Amazon 8 months prior to this quadruple murder, that is a connection, a circumstantial connection to the knife left beside one of the bodies, the sheath left beside one of the bodies with his DNA on it. And if you had doubts before, you now look into his background and you find out that he ordered a K-bone knife, a knife sheath, and a sharpener on Amazon 8 months prior. Does that satisfy you that this, in fact, is extremely powerful evidence? I think it should. I think it should, because there's the connection. There is the nexus, if you will, between the knife sheath, Brian KOHBERGER's DNA, and the fact that he ordered it on Amazon. And now there's a third piece of evidence that on his Amazon account, he tried to get rid of all evidence that he had even searched or ordered the knife, the sheath, and the sharpener on Amazon. So there is evidence that he tried to get rid of it. So convincing evidence. Is it convincing evidence? You bet. I think it really is. And then another big question, of course, is the testimony from Dylan Mortensen. How important is her testimony? And if it was unimportant, the defense wouldn't be trying so hard to get rid of it, to get it suppressed, to not allow her to testify.
The case says he will allow one of the survivors to testify, rejecting the defense's claims that the roommate's testimony would be unfair to the defendant, Brian KOHBERGER. The witness, who was physically unharmed, claims the attacker had, quote, bushy eyebrows. You'll recall back in 2022, the brutal stabbings of 4 University of Idaho students, and there they are there, setting off a nationwide manhunt that eventually caught up with KOHBERGER, then a grad student studying criminal justice. A judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf when he remained silent during his arraignment. Let's bring in NBC's Stephanie Gosk, who's been following this for us.